will do this the best I can. This is very weird.
Nothing could go wrong. It's foolproof.
Well, whatever the word is, yes, I agree with it.
Ooh, you told some secrets on this episode. That's cool.
Hey, and welcome to the first official episode of season 2. I really had a hard time getting that out.
Yay!
But yeah, we're here and things are changing a little bit, but we're still hanging out and talking books and having interviews and doing a lot of really fun stuff. So yeah, today we're starting it off with a bang. We're here for a very special author interview with our very own K.L. Moody. Hi, Kay.
Hey.
We are very excited to be here. Okay, we are. And I'm joined by two other queens, Hanna and Tess.
Hi.
Yeah, well, we're excited. We've had a lot of technical difficulties on my end, so we're just gonna see. We're just gonna go with it. We're roll with the punches, right? So let's dive in. Kay, hi.
What's up?
How are you?
Good. I don't have anything exciting to say about that. Just normal.
Yeah, that's okay. If you guys have been with us from the beginning, you have heard Kay introduce herself before, but since she is our guest of honor, she's just going to give a little overview. So give us the basics. What you write, your series. Let's go.
Okay, sounds good. So I write young adult fantasy. My books are more epic or high fantasy. They're not as long as some, like, adult epic fantasy tends to be like really long, right? Like 800 pages books, So I guess that's one thing I like about young adult is that they're not as long, but they're still pretty long. Like 400 pages. And I just really like the settings to be that epic high fantasy settings. So that's how mine are. Except for my first series, which is different from everything that I write. So, we just, I mostly just talk about the other two series. So I have one series, The Elements of Camdaria. That one is all about, elemental magic, water, air, earth, and fire. So that's the fun thing about that series. Plus there's royalty and intrigue, just like my other series, which is The Fae of Bitter Thorn, which has, the royalty and intrigue. But this one also has fae. It takes place in fairy. So it's awesome. I love the fae. That's been a really fun thing to write.
Yeah, and so that series is officially complete.
Woo!
The last book came out on Tuesday, yesterday. Yay. How you feeling about that? Congratulations.
It's always fun to get to the end of a series. It's always like a big relief, but then it's sad too because, so much time has been spent on these characters and everything. So it's good. I'm very excited to be done with it, but of course I am sad too. So,
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, can you tell us what the first book is about? Just like a brief overview on what the series is.
Okay, so book 1, the little tagline that I like to use is, okay, this is like funny to me that I'm using this to describe the whole book, but it works. It says, betray a prince, conspire with a king. What could possibly go wrong? That's pretty much the whole book right there.
It's foolproof.
Yeah, so she gets tricked by this fae prince to go to fairy because she doesn't believe in fairies. She thinks that it's all pretend. And so he's like, make a bargain with me. She's like, haha, yeah, okay, cool. And then she has to go to fairy. And she's like, wait a second. Anyway, so then she gets there and she's immediately like, forget you. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get home, even if that means destroying whatever goals you have. But then she conspires with this other king, and it turns out that, maybe the king's motivations are a little bit worse than the prince's, and maybe she shouldn't have done that. So, yeah. Okay, also, Alora is the main character, and she really has to get back home because her sisters need her. So that's why she's so, she actually does really like Fairy, but she's just like, it doesn't matter, I have to get back home. So, sorry, this wonderful world that is amazing, I need to leave. The end. No. There's a lot more to it than that.
That's all.
And she's like a master swordswoman.
I love that
Yes.
part about her character.
Mhm.
Oh, that is so cool. You guys
Yeah.
like that. That is true. That's funny. I didn't even mention that. She is a master sword woman. I don't know. I was going to say swordsman, but and she's
Swords
very
person.
feisty because of it. You know, she's just like, this is my thing and nobody can stop me from doing it.
Yeah, I love that.
So a lot of books with like portals to fairy are more like modern ones, and yours goes from like a high fantasy world into fairy, which is a little different.
In my mind, it technically takes place on Earth just a long time ago.
Oh, I didn't know
Alright.
that.
Although you wouldn't know that except if you listened to this interview, because it does. I don't ever
The
say
inside
Earth or
scoop.
anything like that. So
Now
it's
you
just,
know.
You know, like medieval times, I guess.
Ooh, you told some secrets on this episode.
Yeah.
That's cool.
True.
That's cool. Is there anything specific that like inspired you to write it? Do you wanna talk about that a little bit, or you just wanted to write a feisty?
I mean,
world
all
heroine?
of my females tend to be a little bit feisty. All of my protagonists. I mean, who doesn't love a feisty character, right? So, but the Fae specifically, I don't know. There were just a lot of Fae books coming out, and I liked them. So I was like, I'm going to do that. That's a valid reason,
mean, that
right?
makes sense.
It's totally valid.
We all back you up.
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody here is on the same train as you.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part about writing the series?
That's a hard question. You asked that, and I just had like 4 things come to mind. So now it's like, which?
So tell us 4 things.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so I really liked having Alora be good with a sword. That was fun, especially because my last protagonist specifically is not good with a sword. So
Right.
she is a dagger person, in case you were wondering. And even then, she's much better at manipulating the elements. Like, she's just not really a weapons person. So it was fun to have a character who is very good at weapons, and that is specifically why the prince came and found her, is because he needed someone to teach him how to use a sword. So that was really fun, because she grows up in this world where because she's a woman, it's like, oh, you can use a sword? That's weird, and maybe you shouldn't tell people that, you know? But she's proud of it, and so it's cool. What else? The courts. I have 6 courts in Fairy, and each of the courts has, like, you know, I really liked, a lot of Fae books have the seasonal courts where it's the, you know, spring court, summer court, and I really liked that a lot. But I feel like so many people do that, which is great. Everybody having their own take on it is really cool, but I just wanted to do something different with that specifically. So I kind of made my courts more like different habitats. I guess I don't know how to explain this. You know, one's like the snowy court, and it's not because it's winter, it's just that's where it is. It's in this area, you know, it's like, it's just snowy. And then one is, you know, a forest, and then one is like all sand dunes and deserty. So that was cool. That was fun coming up with the courts, and what would their, you know, like the world building with those would be, what would it be like?
Because you have pretty distinct cultures for each
Yes,
of the
yeah,
courts,
that was...
compared to a lot of Fae books.
That was really important to me, that it was like, if they're in a court where it's all about the sea and the ocean, what would their culture be like? What kind of materials would they use? What kind of food would they eat? Those kinds of things. That was really fun. Plus, also, I just really like Alora and Brannick because they're the best. Okay, that's the last one.
I love love that though. I love how much you love it. Like that's just those are the best books really to read is when an author is just like so into it.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for the series to be like complete and because it's so good and so it's really cool that it's done now. So like people can just binge it too if they haven't read it. But okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go back and forth, and Hanna and Tess has some questions for you as well. So we're just gonna do one at a time. Hannah's gonna start us off, and yeah, let's just ask Kay some more questions.
Dun, dun, dun. My question. First of all, I just have to say that I love that Kay likes to write like stabby, feisty characters and books, and yet she is the one amongst us that has like the prettiest pink headpiece. You got this like girly aesthetic and then like this inner stabbiness. And
I feel
love
like
it.
that is such a good example of who I am as a person. Also, I am very girly. For those who don't know, I have 4 children. They're all boys, and I feel like with each one I've gotten more and more girly, and I was pretty girly to begin with, okay? So
keep the balance in the house.
I have also, like, when I was little, I would be the girl that would like put on pretend makeup and dress ups that were like fairly frilly dress ups, and also I would get out and play in the mud and like try to kill bugs, which is sad to think about now, but I feel bad about it now. Yeah, I'm like tomboy and extreme girly girl. Okay, I'm both.
I love it.
I love it too. Okay, my first question for you is, what's your favorite side character you've ever written?
And
why do you love them?
Yes. Okay, so I have 2. Am I allowed to have 2? You
can have as many as you want.
I'll allow it.
Okay, so the first one is from my previous series, Elements of Camdaria. It's Wendy. She's probably just my favorite. I just like Wendy because she's so sweet and she's just like so loving. She can like change anybody's mind with her smile, but she's also like sneaky and devious sometimes, and I just really love that that she's like makes you think that you're just what am I trying to say? She's just like so sweet and can convince anybody of anything, and it just makes it seem like, oh, I decided to do that. But really, Wendy's like, no, I made you decide to do that. So I like that. Also, I think Kaya is my other one, which is funny because she is Kaya is from my Fae of Bitter Thorn series. Also, she's a dryad, so she's like a tree, but she also can come,
which makes her automatically cool. I think.
So she can come out of her tree and be like a fae, but then she also like lives in a tree, and she has to like go back to her tree to, if she's been out of her tree too long, she has to go back, Anyway, she's also a similar kind of character where she's like kind of motherly, I guess, and caring. She's not devious. Well, she is, but so are all the Fae, so she's no more devious than all the Fae.
The baseline.
Yeah,
different.
And she also, anyway, she's really important to Brannick and his court, which I'm not going to say exactly why, because there are more, that's kind of, you don't find out till book 4, or maybe 3, I can't remember now. Now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, she's just really important to Brannick for counsel and that kind of thing.
She was my favorite character of yours to draw.
Yes.
Because I love drawing bark skin because it's fun, and I love drawing tree hair, and I gave her hair like ridiculous, like she couldn't even walk if she had hair.
But you know
long.
what?
But
though?
I love it. It's so fun.
It's so appropriate. Kaya would
She's
totally
a fae.
have, and her hair is emerald, and it's like super shiny and emerald colored. So yeah, who wouldn't love that? She's amazing.
Agreed.
But yeah, I do love, Hanna drew these adorable chibis for me, and they're so cute.
And that was the most adorable one?
Yes, it is. Well, they're all adorable.
They're all adorable, but there's something about dryads. I kind of feel like it's like a metaphor for introversion. If I've been away from my tree for too long, I'll require to go back, or else I will probably crumble into dust or something.
That's totally what I intended. No, I'm just kidding. You're so deep. Good metaphor, though.
I love it.
That's great. All right, Tess, do you have a question for Kay?
Okay, so whenever I see someone who loves Fae books and they're like, oh my gosh, I loved The Cruel Prince. That book is my favorite. I need other Fae books that are like that. Like, I want it to be a little bit stabby, some enemies to lovers. I'm like, you want to read the Fae of Bitter Thorn series. Like, this is the book that you want to read, because when I read that, I got such strong Jude and Carden vibes. Like, I wouldn't say Alora, at least in book 1, isn't as vicious and stabby as Jude, but their dynamic is I feel like that was such a good way to cure your The Cruel Prince hangover. So with that in mind, what are your top 3 favorite Fae books or series?
Okay, I'm so excited. This is such a great question. Okay, so first I think is the Cruel Prince series, although I will say that I liked the end a lot. It's
once you know everything's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's so dark in book 1, and it's so well written. Holly Black does it so well, the dark stuff, but I liked it the best when it was the end, when it was not as dark.
I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I loved the end when it was all happy.
Yeah. So I don't know, my book, I feel like I can write darker than I like reading, which seems weird, but maybe I'm thinking my series is probably not as dark as The Cruel Prince. So if you want something that is like The Cruel Prince, but maybe not as dark, then that's another reason to read this series, my series. Yeah, so that one, I think Holly Black just she writes so much Fae, right? And she knows Fae. And I really liked how the Fae were devious, that there were so many rules that they couldn't lie, that, with bargains and things. I really loved that aspect of the world building, that the Fae had a really distinct culture and rules that were specific to the Fae. So, that was what I loved about hers. Also, the Iron Fae series by Julie Kagawa. I don't know how to say her last name. Do you guys know how to say her last name?
That's how I always say it.
Okay, so Julie Kagawa. I really loved the world building in that one. Wow, okay, I didn't think world building was my favorite thing, because I also loved Jude and Carden in the Cruel Prince series, so maybe I should have mentioned that more. But the world building in the Iron Fae series is amazing. I really loved how...
It's really unique.
It is. And I loved how distinct the courts were. That was one thing that I really wanted to bring into mine. That it was the 2 courts were totally different. Well, 3, I guess. Yeah, I just loved how they were all really specific. You could just feel like you were there, but they were so different from each other. Then I guess the last one is an Enchantment of Ravens. I don't know. I don't know if that's... There are so many good ones, So it's hard to choose. That's just the one I'm thinking of off the top of my head. So maybe if I sat down for a minute, I would have different ones. But I really liked the idea that... so in that series, the Fae cannot create anything. Only humans can. So this girl, the main character of that book, she is a painter. And so she's able to create art, unlike the Fae. And I really liked that idea, which if you've read my series, I'm sure you'll see the parallels to that. That it's the Fae don't have the emotion necessary to create it, although that's kind of how I made it in my series. In Enchantment of Ravens, it's more they just don't have the ability, or that I can't remember. It hurts them. It makes them, they die from it or something. I can't remember, but they can't create anything. And I really loved that idea. So in my series, it's the same kind of thing, where the Fae can create things, but they can't do it the same way because they don't have the emotions that mortals have. And so because of that emotion, mortals are able to create better things than the Fae.
That is a pretty cool
it.
parallel.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Hanna, you got another one?
I got... Oh, yeah, I got some.
Yeah.
If you could live in your version of fairy, which court would you live in?
Okay.
Ooh.
This is Such a good question. It's so hard. Okay, so first, I feel like I've got to give an overview for those who haven't read the book.
Yes.
So there are 6 courts. The main court that you're in most of the time is Bitterthorn. That is where the Fey Prince is from, Brannick. So Bitterthorn is like this lush forest, has like moss and these super lush trees, and there's like, it smells like rain all the time, and there's little wild flowers and everything, and it's just really beautiful.
There's like trees inside the castle.
Yes, and trees grow
I love
inside the
trees.
castle. And even inside the castle, it feels like you're in a forest, right? So it just has like the breezes and everything. Okay, so then I'm not going to explain all the other courts that deeply now that I just spent all that time. So quickly, there's Fairfrost, which is like icy and snowy, and then Noble Rose, which is like rolling hills and lots of gardens, and then Dust Dune, which is a desert and sand dunes, and then Swiftsea has lots of islands and oceans and beaches, and then Mistmount has, mountains and caves, and it's really open. Did I do all of them? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that was 6.
I think that was 6.
I wasn't counting.
Mistmount. Yeah, I think that was all of them. Okay, so okay, so no surprise here, but I would choose Bitterthorn because I obviously made my favorite one the main court, right?
Yeah, it's true.
I just have a thing with trees. I really love being I think most people love being in nature to some extent, just there's something peaceful about it. But for me, really, it's the trees that just feel like they're so calming to me, being in among trees. But I have to say, Mistmount would probably be my second. It would be like a very, very close. They would.
You can have like a vacation home there.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Because I also love the mountains. So, I mean, can I just have a forest in the mountains?
Well, you're the author. I don't know why you didn't do that.
Do whatever you want.
That would be the ultimate choice.
As I live in the mountains in a forest, I think that is
Yes.
obviously the best.
See, you know what I'm talking about.
I know. It's how it should go. And it's like that, I always forget what the word is, but the Japanese have a word for, they call it forest bathing, but they have like a word for it. It's just like the feeling of being out in nature, and they just believe it's essential that you have to forest bathe often.
Well, whatever the word is, yes, I agree with it.
We'll look that up later.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. That word I think is awesome, but can never remember.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's really interesting because I feel like I'm like that too. Like I love being in the forest because of the trees. Like, yeah. Anyway, Tess. Sorry, side note. Tess, you have another question?
Yeah, so mine's kind of similar to that one. It is, which of your characters' abilities or magic would you want most for yourself?
Oh. I can't answer this because it's a spoiler.
Oh!
Let's just say there's a character who discovers their magic later on. And that's the magic I want.
Okay.
Okay, so after we're done, I'd like you to tell
Yeah.
We
That's
promise
all I
not to
wanna
tell.
Okay, if you've read the whole series, based on what I said just now, you will know what I'm talking about. So just read the series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Say, I haven't finished it yet, so now I'm feeling called out here. Dang it, I don't know the answer to this question.
Well, I do have to say that I really like the idea of the bargains that and vows. In Fairy, it is physically impossible. People cannot break their bargains. It's not like, oh, I'm going to just lie and do this. It's like if you make a bargain, you are physically incapable of not keeping that bargain. Which, I like the idea of it. I like writing it, but I definitely don't know if I'd want to live in a world like that. I certainly came up with lots of ways that could cause problems, so. Yeah.
I looked it up, and I don't know how to speak Japanese, so I'm going to say it wrong, but it's Shinrin Yoku. I thought I would just
Oh, cool.
Okay.
forest bathing.
Hanna, you got another
All right.
question?
I do. I have one more question. And that is, I know you've been writing a lot of fantasy, which obviously I love because I also write fantasy. But if you had to switch to a different genre, what genre would you pick? If you like all done fantasy, no more fantasy. Or maybe no more high fantasy? No more fantasy, I'm going to be mean. Is there anything else you could write?
I don't know. No, I don't know. Okay, so this is actually a funny thing because, all right, so if you are familiar with the Myers-Briggs test, you get like 4 letters and they say it's like your personality, whatever. So there's one of them that is you like the real and the, real things that are like concrete, or you like imaginary things.
Right, it's the sensing versus intuition.
Yeah. Anyway, it's funny because I don't even like reading contemporary books. I'm like, this is too close to reality. Like, that's what I'm trying to leave right now. Which is so funny. Urban fantasy, I do read it sometimes, but I'm always like, can we please get me to a pretend world? This is what I need in my fantasy. I don't know. I guess I do. Maybe cozy mysteries. Maybe.
Oh, really?
Okay.
I could maybe write that.
I thought your answer would be sci-fi. I feel
I
like
do.
I
I know,
could see
that's
you
what I thought too.
doing a good, like, a fantasy sci-fi.
Yeah,
I could totally
I
see you
think
doing
so.
that.
I consider sci-fi fantasy. I don't know. Is it not?
It is not.
Okay, so if I'm allowed sci-fi, then yeah, obviously
You can
sci-fi. I thought that was off the table here.
No.
Oh,
They're
that's
very
great.
different. That's very different moods, fantasy and sci-fi.
Yeah.
I just laugh because you and me and Valia are all INTJs. And me and Valia love contemporary
I know.
romance.
Which I think
Your N must be stronger. I don't know.
I think there are more people that prefer like contemporary, and then there are just the other people like me.
I don't prefer it.
Temporary. I prefer fantasy, but I can get into the feels. Sometimes it's just all I need are the feels. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
contemporary, here I come. All right, Tess, you got another one for Kay?
I do. I have one final question, which I'm really excited about. If you can possibly give me this answer, I don't know if you will, but what are you writing next?
Oh, this is not a secret, I will tell you.
Perfect.
Basically, it's a spin-off of my Fae of Bitter Thorn series. Also, if you've read the 4th book, I feel like it's pretty obvious that that's kind of how it's going to go down. Although, also, I wrote it, so maybe it's more obvious to me than it is to read. Anyway, but it's just Chloe is Alora's younger sister. She has 2 younger sisters, so Chloe's the next in line. And my next series is going to feature Chloe as the main character.
Ooh, that's so exciting.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, to be honest.
Not ready.
Is
Not
she
ready
gonna
to say
have a
goodbye to Fairy
romance?
yet. She's got to have a romance.
Yeah, there's obviously a romance. Again, if you read book 4, I set that up.
Ooh, I need to catch up. I haven't read the whole series yet. Well, obviously the 4th one just came out, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I need
You're
to
forgiven.
catch up.
I'm just kidding.
You're forgiven, but only because it released yesterday.
Exactly.
Next week she'll be checking
No.
in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You have 7 days.
Yeah, it's
That's awesome.
It's gonna be fun though. I really like Chloe. She gets a little bit more page time in the later books in the series, and she is gonna be sassy. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can live up to what I've already written. She's gonna be a fun character to write though.
It's like easier to make side characters really like a little off and sassy
Yeah.
and strong personalities, and then when you go to write them, you're like, oh.
You're like, what did I create?
Yes.
I have to do something about this.
But I have already written the first chapter, so hey, if you read book 4, there is a little preview of chapter 1.
You have a
Chloe's book.
preview in book 4?
I do, yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out right now.
It's probably can be edited. I mean, it's probably gonna be a little different by the time the book is done. But I mean, it's been, proofread, but
Right.
it might change a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty much what it's going to be.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited you're excited about this next series too, because sometimes when you leave like a series, you're kind of just like, what am I gonna write next or whatever, but you're just like even more pumped
Yeah.
to write this like spin-off, which is like so great. I love that so much. But yeah, so I'm gonna ask you one last question because we're all readers here. Are you reading anything exciting right now?
I am reading Ember Queen, which is the last book in the Ash Princess series trilogy.
Oh.
Okay.
It's pretty good. Actually, I'm like disappointed in myself that I didn't read it earlier.
Oh, nice.
I feel like it's a pretty fun series. She has elemental magic also, and I'm always a fan of that because it's so cool. But then there are also gemstones, which is cool. Gems. I don't think she calls them gemstones. I call them gemstones in my book, which is why I just said that. In my Fae Bitter Thorn series, there are gemstones. But no, I think they're just gems in that book, and it's fun. Yeah, I just started the book, so I don't have much to say about it yet.
That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for letting us interview you.
You're welcome.
I was like,
Just awkwardly
anyway,
smiles.
I know. It's just like, hey, okay, thanks. No, I know it's a little bit of a different feel for us, to actually do interviews, but I'm really excited that we are doing them because I think it's so fun to get to know, each of the queens a little bit better and just like talk about their books. And I hope you guys pick them out, and read them. I will have links for everything. Kay here has also an Etsy store where she has signed books that you guys can pick up as well. So if you're like, look for signed books, this is perfect. You can get them. I'll link that as well. Make sure to follow her on Instagram at KL Moody and check out her website and Amazon page, and everything will be linked because I link everything in the description for you guys. But yeah, definitely check out this series. It's so good. And like they mentioned, if you love The Cruel Prince, this is going to be right up your alley. And it's honestly so good. Anyway, this is how we're going to wrap it up. No, we're very excited about this season, and we're excited about what we have planned for you guys. So I hope you stay tuned and make sure to, check us out and on the Instagram as well at Reading Queens Pod. And yeah, I think this is going to be it. Please give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform, and then come back next Wednesday for more excitement. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.